Welcome back to the 3994. Election Day is coming up fast. It's Tuesday, August 4th. And whether you're in Andrew County, Buchanan County, or anywhere else along the 3994 corridor, there's a lot on this ballot that affects real life here at home. Joining me today is someone who spent her career teaching history and government to Savannah High School students, retired teacher Melissa Ross. But first, our sponsors. We want to shout out to Greater Than Financial, Gina's Cafe and Catering, E.L. Crawford Construction, Scooters Coffee, Pancakes, Pups and Suds, and of course, Walleman Families Truck Stop. Thank you guys for your sponsorship. Melissa, thank you for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You're the best.
I don't know about that.
You are. Thank you for coming to the studio here at the Launchpad. Getting away from Savannah just a little bit, but not Savannah issues, right?
Right. Absolutely.
It affects all of us.
It does.
So what is on this ballot? I know that you have videos that you put out, which is why I have you here today, that really educate us each election cycle. And you don't have to keep doing it, but we would love it. About the issues that are coming up that you have to be aware of, some of the really important races. And the reason why I wanted to have you is because you come at it from a non-biased standpoint.
I do the best I can with that one. Everybody's got a bias. But if if you look at a person who has a different opinion than you and you listen to why they have a different opinion, then maybe some common ground could be found. And nobody really is trying to do that. Nobody's really trying to find common ground. And honestly, that civil discourse, especially in the media, is so lacking. It's so lacking. And in a small way, from teaching and my videos, that's what I'm trying to do, is get people to understand the actual issue, what's really going to be on the ballot, and they can come up with whatever opinion they want, because I like to think that people can think, and they don't need anybody to tell them what they should think. And I tried very hard not to tell people what they should think.
I think you do a great job, but not to defend the media, but to help people understand when you're watching those cable shows, that is opinion, right? The majority of the programming is opinion. And I have a really hard time when I'm trying to explain that to someone, like, this isn't news necessarily. Like, if they're advertising it and it's a news segment, you know it's news. If they're not advertising it that way, that's not what it is. And so those non-biased news outlets, far and few between, I feel like you might be one of them, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
But let's start talking about what's on the ballot, because we have a lot to cover today.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
The first one is Amendment 1, Park, Soil, and Water Tax. This renews a 0.1% sales tax that's funded Missouri's free state park admission and soil water conservation programs for over 40 years. It was last renewed in 2016 with 80% approval. So what would a no vote actually mean for something like Watkins Mill or the local conservation program?
Well, conservation is funded with taxpayer dollars. And if those taxpayer dollars aren't there, then that funding is not there. So I can't necessarily tell you what it would do for a specific, like Watkins Mill, or specifically for a state park. I can tell you that everything would deplete. About $400,000 worth of assistance and programming would go away. It would just go away.
And we know that 80% approval the last time around was a big chunk of money. But what does this mean as far as sales tax? So 0.1% of 1%. I hate to be like, do the math here, but what does that mean for like an average household?
Absolutely. And I don't want to say nothing flippantly,
right?
But they're already paying it. Yeah. They've been paying it for, like you said, 40 years. Every 10 years, it has to be re-voted on, and the voters have to say, yes, we still want this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pass it, then nothing's going to change. It's going to stay the same way it has, and as far as what you're not. And if you don't pass it, it's minimal, depending on your wealth. If you're making $10 million a year, then of course, 0.1% is significantly more than if you're making $50,000 a year.
Easy. That's an easy ballot issue for me, right?
It is.
It's an easy ballot issue.
It is.
The Second Amendment, Jackson County Assessor. Why in the world do I care about this? This one's statewide, but it specifically targets Jackson County, requiring them to elect their property assessor like every other charter county in Missouri does, instead of having one appointed, requiring them to elect their property assessor like on every Missourian's ballot. I never understand this.
In the state of Missouri, any constitutional change must be approved by the voters. And that is written in the Bill of Rights of the Missouri Constitution. So in 2015, I think it was 2015, is when that carve out was for Jackson County was, and I honestly don't know why they carved it out. I'm guessing there was some log rolling going on, and Jackson County did not want their assessor to be elected like everybody else. Because that's when it was put in the Missouri Constitution. And that bill, or it wasn't a bill, that ballot measure was originally written by Eric Schmidt, who is now our U.S. Senator, right? And when he wrote it, he wasn't even living in Jackson County. That's why I'm assuming there was some log rolling going on to have Jackson County specifically carved out of having their assessor
Which is so
elected.
Interesting, because I'm going to the ballot box for Jackson County.
Exactly.
I know nothing about Jackson County. And so it's just so interesting how we're making decisions. It's like, should they be running ads on television to educate the rest of Missouri? And wow, that's expensive.
It is expensive. Not to mention the fact Jackson County last year voted to have an elected assessor. But you have to change the Constitution before you can actually have something like that happen in real life. So Jackson County residents are just as irritated as everybody else. I
bet. We'll just keep doing it till they tell us not to.
There you go.
Okay, moving on. Amendment 4, initiative petition process. This will require citizen-initiated constitutional amendments to pass in a majority of all 8 congressional districts, not just a simple statewide majority. Supporters say that it protects against out-of-state interest. Opponents, of course, say it could let a small share of voters in one district override a statewide majority. Good heavens, can you break down how that math actually works?
Well, I think what's more important is for the people to understand what an initiative is.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, how long has it been since a lot of people have been in civics classes or in government classes to remember what an initiative is? Not to mention, when you're in high school and you're taking American government, it's so not top priority. You're just the average kid, right?
And how do you even decide what to teach? There are so many topics.
Oh, well, now the state tells us what to teach. True. And so that stinks, but that's a whole nother podcast. Okay, so an initiative can happen. Well, let me start over. An initiative is when a group of people, a group of Missourians, decide that they want something on the ballot. And when they go out and they get enough signatures and enough approval from different counties in the state, and they submit it to the Secretary of State's office. And the Secretary of State has to read through it and make sure that it's viable and make sure that it is something that they can put on the ballot. And there's not like 10 million little things in this initiative. And then they have to go out and get signatures on petitions. And if you get enough signatures on petitions, then it can go on the ballot. None of that is going to change with this. What's going to change is once it gets on the ballot, then all the congressional districts, all 8, have to approve that specific initiative if the initiative is put on the ballot by that process that I told you. But it started with the people. Now, any amendment to the Missouri Constitution has to be approved by the people, and sometimes the General Assembly will put together an amendment, a ballot measure, and the people have to approve it in order for it to actually change the Missouri Constitution. If the General Assembly creates that ballot measure, simple majority in the state of Missouri. If it comes directly from the people, then every single congressional district has to approve it. Now, if you think about it, an initiative that started by the people, collected signatures on petitions by the people, then is voted on and approved by the people, that's the purest form of democracy that exists in the United States. And there are several states that have this initiative process. It could never happen at the national level because, can you imagine getting California to agree to something that Florida wants or Maine wants or Texas wants or Missouri? You can't do it on the national level. It can only happen, this initiative process can only happen at the state level. And democracy's so cool when it works.
When it works.
Right?
Do you think that this is something that will get passed?
I can't venture a guess because, well, there's so much propaganda for it and so much propaganda against it. There is more to that number, that more to Amendment 4 than what you'll see on the ballot. And that is because in the original fair ballot language, written by the Secretary of State, Scott Fitzpatrick, it had everything that's in that ballot measure in the fair ballot language. And that had a lot to do with no shenanigans when it comes, and this is Rossisms, no shenanigans when it comes to getting those petitions signed, and no foreign adversaries or foreign actors at all, nationals, they said foreign nationals, can promote or go against or oppose financially or with any kind of, you can't do anything if you're a foreign national or foreign adversary when it comes to promoting a ballot measure. And if you do, then it says some very specific punishments for that and very specific punishments for the shenanigans if you are messing with the petition process. But a Cole County judge, and in my video I said Clay County, but it's a Cole County judge, rewrote that fair ballot language. And that is kind of a big deal because we, the people, elected the Secretary of State to write fair ballot language. And the judge, who is not elected, rewrote that fair ballot language and took out everything that had to do with foreign nationals and foreign adversaries. And I read through the court case, and according to the judge, all of those already exist in statutes or laws. And because they already exist, they didn't need to be on the ballot, which I have a really hard time with that. And I have a really hard time with that because sometimes people go to the ballot box and they have no idea what's going to be on the ballot. They just know it's their civic duty to vote.
Yeah.
And so they show up and they read the fair ballot language and they go, oh, okay, I'll vote for that or I won't vote for that. And they have no idea that
how that language changed, which is kind of interesting because we're not going to get into the Supreme Court, but isn't it interesting that it's very much the same? You know, we elect officials to pass laws, and then it goes to the Supreme Court, decisions are made, laws are changed. Like, I mean, this is almost our democratic system, not a perfect one.
Not a perfect one. And there's a lot about the Supreme Court having to do these things because Congress is not doing these things, right? If Congress wanted those statutes to change, they could change them.
Mm-hmm.
They just would rather sit back and blame the Supreme Court for doing it.
Yeah. And nobody agrees. I mean, that's never going to get done. Okay, on to Amendment 5, income tax phase out. This is a big one.
It is.
So many ads on TV and on social. A 5-year plan to gradually eliminate Missouri's individual income tax, giving lawmakers new authority to expand sales taxes to cover the gap. Supporters frame it as making Missouri more competitive. Critics, including some tax policy groups and local citizens, warn it could shift more of the tax burden onto everyday purchases for working families. So what should someone locally know before they vote on this one? I know that this is something that might be difficult for us to talk about and for you to comment on because we have to check our biases at the door on this one.
Not when you're voting, but when
we're discussing
format. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think earlier I said that things are paid for with taxes. If you don't like what the roads look like, if you don't get enough gravel on your drive, if you are worried about police protection, all of that is paid for with taxpayer dollars. And there are things like in the Missouri Constitution that have to be paid for. So if you're going to eliminate a income tax, the state income tax, they're going to have to get it from somewhere else. And or they won't. That's true. It's possible that they're just going to do more cuts. However, Missouri has a very small, compared to other states, bordering states, Missouri doesn't spend a whole lot of money. And Missouri also has to have a balanced budget, where other states don't have to have a balanced budget. So they can go into a deficit spending where Missouri can't go into deficit spending because it's written into the Constitution. Well, if they balance it out by raising sales taxes, then the price of goods is going to go up. And local governments in the ballot measure, it says that local governments can also eliminate their personal property taxes and things like that. And they can raise their sales taxes as well. And so that just means that the commodities are going to go up and services are going to go up.
Okay, but be the devil's advocate on the other side.
Oh, I was getting to the other side.
Please. I would love to know, what are people thinking? Because they're passionate. Yeah. There's posts all over social about people who really don't usually comment on political issues. They're commenting.
Yes. And they have a good point, right? If you take away the income tax and you raise the sales taxes, then people can choose whether they want to pay taxes or not. Do you want that pack of gum? Do you want to drive, to Kansas City 3 or 4 times a week and pay more in gas? Or do you want to just get a job locally and not have to pay that? If you have sales taxes going up and no income taxes, a lot of people believe that would be a really good thing, especially if all of the, I don't exactly know what's happening in St. Joe as far as what's happening with the mall and what's happening with all that stuff, because I don't pay a lot of attention. What I do notice is we got a lot of hotels going up in St. Joe, so there's got to be some plan somewhere. And all of those things. Are you planning on drawing in more tourism? And are you planning on having more services?
Tune into previous podcast episodes, everybody, because they're talking about it. They're talking about what that would mean for the economy in St. Joe. And the rumor is, the thing that people are saying is, in a few years, the economy is going to change in this city and in neighboring counties. Things are going to change. Well, if that's so true, there is a method to that madness. It's coming from somewhere. And it may just be in taxes.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's move on. Why is it still worth double checking your own ballot, even when the big statewide items are the same everywhere?
Because the local issues that are on your ballot are going to affect you more directly than the statewide ballot measures. They're going to, for example, in Andrew County, we have to vote on a tax that's a renewable tax, just like Amendment 1. And I think it's about the same as Amendment 1, too. It's like 0.1% or 1%. I can't remember what it is. But if you vote yes on it, you're still going to pay the same amount of tax as you did last year. And if you vote no, it's going to go down just a little bit based on, of course, your income. And it's for roads and bridges and gravel and things like that. That the only way they can pay for it is with taxes. And how they distribute those taxes is up to the county commissioner. And in Andrew County, the presiding commissioner is up for re-election, and it's contested. I mean, there's two people that are running for presiding commissioner. And if Fritz Hegeman wins, then we got to elect a new associate commissioner. And if Jarvis wins, then nothing changes.
Mm-hmm. So the importance of picking our nominee locally, why does that matter just as much as these amendments that everyone's talking about? So why, again, maybe restate, why does that race, and maybe the races in Buchanan County, talk to those, why do those matter to voters so much? Again, I know you said it affects our, us locally in these small and tiny ways, but are some of those races just as, people just as passionate?
I don't know if people are as passionate because voter turnout for elections like this is very, very low.
August 4th.
Yeah, it's going to be low.
It's an August 4th election.
Which is why you got to go vote in August 4th, because your vote is going to matter more because voter turnout is going to be so low. Your vote's going to matter more. Let's go back to the county commissioners in Andrew County. Those guys get to say where taxpayer dollars are spent in the county. If your road needs gravel, you call the county commissioners. They look at the budget, and they go, oh, well, we'll have to cut here in order to put more gravel there, and we'll have to, or hopefully we'll get this tax passed so that we can continue graveling this road and that road and putting up street signs. And
a great example of that is what happened in Andrew County this year with the ambulance district, the fire department, the police department, and getting those 911 services. We all had conversations, and things changed for someone like me who needs to call an ambulance to come to my home. It was very much a today issue. And the lobbying, the discussion, the elections, who was in those seats really mattered for such a small town issue that affects us on a very real way. I've gone on record saying that was really inspiring process to me because it felt like democracy. So yeah, I completely agree with you. So let's talk about those first-time voters. You have now retired. You graduated your last class of voters.
I did.
First-time voters. Why is it important for them to choose a party ballot if they were to go? What happens if they don't August 4th?
Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
The first time I voted was in a primary election. And I was 18. I was so excited that I got to vote. I know, I'm a nerd. But I didn't really pay attention to primary, general. I just knew I wanted to vote for this guy, this person, because he is a really good person and I wanted him to be in office. And so I went to the polling place and, all excited. And she asked me my name and got my ID, and she said, Republican or Democrat? And I went, I don't have to tell you that.
Same. The same thing happened to me. And I think it happens to every first-time voter.
I think so. If you're voting in a primary, yeah.
You're having me make a decision today?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't thought about this. I haven't done my research. Yeah.
And it is none of your business.
That's right.
how I vote. And I just gave her a party, and she handed me the ballot, and the guy that I wanted wasn't even on that ballot.
Yeah. So what do you tell your students? Do you say, educate yourself, get ready to go? Like, how do you have these conversations with young voters?
I tell them that story, and I say, if you don't want to look stupid in front of the person who's at the polling place, then you need to know, what is on the ballot. And I don't want you to look stupid. So figure it out before you get there. And then, the heart's in the right place when people say things about voting.
Yeah. When
they go to the polling place and they say things like, I just called my sister and she told me how to vote.
Yeah.
Or I just vote with the party. Okay. So I'm very much a proponent of what's called rational choice voting. And that is you do the research, you figure out what the guy or the woman did in their term. You figure out if you want more of that or you want to change it up, and that's how you vote. That's called rational choice voting. And I'm big proponent of that. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, we are thinking people. You don't need somebody to tell you what to think. And especially if you want America to be the America that you envision, you can't just complain.
How many years were you in the classroom?
27.
What has changed with the potential student voter from year 1 to 27?
Oh, the potential student voter, nothing. Kids are still the same kids that they were 27 years ago.
I'm going to push back because I'm almost upon my 30-year high school, reunion. I'm sorry. I know I look so good.
You do. You look great.
30 years. And I disagree. And here's why I disagree. Nobody cared in 1998 in my graduating class. Now, granted, I was in New York State. Who knows? But nobody cared. And now my daughter just sent me an amendment and 5 ballot measures, and she's 14.
Well, you know the difference, right?
No.
Technology.
Okay, obviously. But
students haven't changed. Technology's changed.
But it's changed them.
Well, it's changed their perspective, especially on voting. And it's very in vogue to be a voter, right?
That did not used to be the case, Melissa Ross.
Okay, well, in 88, it kind of was because of Oliver North,
yes.
and that's when I graduated.
I remember second grade. I was 8.
Oh man! And I remember going to my uncle's house, and he had a big picture of Ronald Reagan on his refrigerator, and my other uncle had a big picture of Jimmy Carter on his refrigerator,
but
and they just get into.
You're also an admitted 18-year-old nerd.
I am.
Okay, so when I envision 1988 graduates, I'm thinking like really big hair
it was
dancing
big.
to Footloose, okay? Yeah. Like they love the movie. So I find it interesting that this generation of kids, they have opinions. I mean, I'm sitting on a couch talking to my 17-year-old, and I wish he was going to have you this year. First of all, he needs an AP class. Second of all, he would have loved your class. And so we're looking forward to this next generation of teachers at Savannah High School, crossing our fingers. But he's having conversations with me about China and North Korea. So this is a very educated, I say that, but they're getting their news from TikTok.
Yes.
And it is very biased in some ways.
Yes.
And so obviously why I'm sitting here trying to do something where we bring the issues, and who knows if they'll watch. But yeah.
That's why online etiquette is so important to be taught in schools. And I can't say all teachers, but I can say the teachers that I work closely with, they are very aware of online etiquette and teaching the kids about how algorithms work. And yeah, if you sit and watch this about, I don't know, how horrible Donald Trump is, That's all you're going to get on TikTok. You're never going to get the other opinion. And so you've got this kid over here who only watches pro Donald Trump stuff, and you've got this kid over here who watches anti Donald Trump stuff, and they truly believe the other one is evil. Mm-hmm. That's where civil discourse needs to come in. And they may have opinions, but those opinions were formed by an algorithm. And that's the job of the modern teacher, is to teach them online etiquette. How do you understand and maneuver? And how do you have civil discourse, especially in a classroom? Especially in a classroom.
Oh, so good. That is so good. I have one more question for you today, and that would be, what has changed in the classroom? Do you even have time to have that conversation that you personally think is pretty important, but the state is telling you what to teach? I have to ask you that question before we go today.
Well,
not to mention the paperwork.
Yeah.
That is required of you by the state.
Yeah. Well,
and the time that takes.
Yeah. Well, when I first started, and as a new teacher, I had a red grade book that I wrote all the grades in pencil. I had a contraption where you could move the little sheet, and it was called a grade-o-matic, and you could move the little inside sheet in the sleeve. Here's how many points. Here's what the percentage would be. So I didn't have to add all of it up in my head or on a calculator every single time. And then we got computers. We got desktop computers that had the grade book in it, but you had to print out the grades every single time, or you had to do the red grade book at the same time you had to do the computer, because sometimes the computer would glitch.
So are you saying your life got easier?
No, absolutely not. That, I spent all my time doing that, but I can tell you, I knew exactly where all of my kids were at any moment in time. Then, as technology evolved, it would be, we've got a new LMS system, it's going to make your life easier. It never did, because you still had to learn that LMS system, and then by the time you got an expert and you knew what you were doing, they do another one at you. Here's another LMS system it's going to make your life easier. Are you kidding me? No, teachers, and one of the biggest lies that we tell young teachers is you have to carve out time for yourself. You have to balance. Teachers can't balance. If they do balance, and this is going to be controversial, but I don't care. I'm retired. If they do balance, then they're lacking. They're lacking. They're either lacking in content, they're lacking in current pedagogy, they're lacking in strategy, they're lacking. If you're not spending the time online figuring out how other teachers are teaching this specific subject with one-on-one, when the kids have a computer, every single kid has a computer, you can't teach it the same way. But if you are teaching it the same way, you're lacking, because the kids aren't getting exactly what they need.
Okay, curriculum question.
Okay.
Tell me, has it changed?
What's changed is that everybody sees it. That's what's changed. And unfortunately, there are teachers, young teachers, not all young teachers, but there are some who know about algorithms and etiquette and all of that, but it's so easy to fall into, and they will track in the classroom that same way. But the curriculum is not biased. It's not biased, and it doesn't say, "Oh, you must promote this specific agenda."
Of course.
But what it does say is you have to tell people about this agenda, that agenda, this agenda, that agenda. And if you're looking for, I don't know, a racial bias, and the teacher is teaching civil rights, well, it's not necessarily a racial bias, but we do have to teach about Martin Luther King Jr., and we do have to teach about Malcolm X, and we do have to teach about, shenanigans that went on during the Constitutional Convention. And they're just people.
Mm-hmm.
History's full of just people. And
flawed people.
And the best part about teaching history was to gossip about all of these guys that are dead and they don't care.
That's amazing. Well, I cannot thank you enough, friend, for coming today. I think that you're such a voice for this future generation of teachers. If you could say one word maybe, to a future teacher, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. Be flexible. Be flexible. And don't take everything personally, because it's not personal.
I love it. Melissa Ross, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Okay, thank you for listening today. Voting info and your polling place are on your county clerk's website. Get out and vote August 4th. It's our right. Share this episode, leave us a review, become a Patreon, comment or like. We would love your support. Until next time.